Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all the panels. I am Izzatie Umayrah from semester 8 TESOL 1 and I am going to present my findings of my research, which is a survey on SK Batu Rakit'S students' perception on the usage of informal medium towards English vocabulary enhancement. One of the most important challenges in learning a second language is vocabulary learning. Asghari and Mustafa has found that Malaysian students' vocabulary knowledge appear to be very limited, and vocabulary has been recognized as crucial to language use, in which learners' insufficient knowledge of vocabulary may lead to difficulties in their second language learning. They asserted that students need to be taught to apply appropriate strategies to enable vocabulary development in English language. And according to Asghari 2012, in learning second language vocabulary, students need to be trained to use appropriate vocabulary learning strategies. The problem of this research is the concerning level of efficiency in learning in English language in SK Batu Rakit, especially among level 2 students, which consists of year 4, year 5, and year 6 students. In the period of 3 months of the time spent in SK Batu Rakit for practical teaching, it has been discovered mainly by observation that their vocabulary mastery level of level 2 students is very concerning and very limited. In an instance, the students of a year 5 class were asked to spell the word see, S-E-E-C. And shockingly, they did not manage to do so, and upon further inquiry, they did not possess the slightest idea of what the word means, which leads to this study. The purpose of the study is to aim to delve into the students' perception of how language acquisition happens best and through which medium. The next purpose is to identify the most contributing medium to students' English vocabulary enhancement. In this research, which has been listed out to 4, which is English songs, video games, English movies, and English storybooks. There are 3 objectives of the research. The first one is to identify which informal medium contributes the most to English vocabulary enhancement based on students' perception. The second one is to identify the differences between the perception of male and female students towards the usage of informal medium in vocabulary enhancement. And the objective number 3 is to analyze the correlation between students' perception towards informal medium in their vocabulary enhancement. There are 3 research questions. Number 1, which informal medium contributes most to English vocabulary enhancement based on students' perception? Number 2, what is the difference between the perception of male and female students towards the usage of informal medium in vocabulary enhancement? And number 3, is there a significant correlation between students' perception towards informal medium in vocabulary enhancement? Okay, so the significance of research is to recognize the best ways and medium for students to learn and for language acquisition to happen effectively. The next one is to ensure the resources available are being optimized to their utmost potential, and that the teacher can take advantage of the knowledge that the engagement with informal medium of the students' preferences will possibly help facilitate their English language development and, in this case, their vocabulary. Here are some of the related parts researches, which according to Abu Rabia 1997, both female and male participants showed stronger extrinsic motivation to learn English as a second language in Canadian context. The next one is by Sylvan and Sundquist 2012. They say that the frequent gamers achieved the highest score in a vocabulary test, followed by the moderate and then the non-gamers. They suggested that there is a positive correlation between second language gaming and incidental and informal second language learning. And according to Guo, 2010, in which he studied the effect of incidental learning and intentional learning on vocabulary acquisition of English as second language students in different levels in Chinese universities. And his study showed that both incidental learning and intentional learning result in significant gains in learners' vocabulary knowledge. But the combination of the incidental and intentional learning instruction achieves greater vocabulary gains and better retention. This research is carried out in survey design, which is a flexible approach that can be used to investigate various ranges of topic, according to Matters, Fox, and Hans, 2007. And the type of the survey deployment is paper survey deployment. Why? What is paper survey deployment? It is a basic type of survey as it uses the paper and pencil approach. And why is this approach chosen? Because it is suitable for the researcher as the questionnaire are given and collected personally. Next is the population and the sample of the research. The population is the student body in Batu Rakit, and it will consist of level 2 students between the age range of 10 and 12 years old. The sample are chosen through Cressy and Morgan's sample size determination table, and a number of 103 students of different gender has been chosen, which is male and female. Ages, different ages, 10 years old, 11 years old, and 12 years old, and they are of different abilities in English language. And the instrument used for data collection is questionnaire. And the questionnaire is built of 30 items, which is based on the informal mediums that the students are engaging with and their perception towards the engagement with the informal medium. And the questionnaire is taken from Rakit'S, 2012. The questionnaire consists of 2 sections, in which the first section is about the usage of informal medium, and it contains 20 items. And the next section is about students' perception on their vocabulary enhancement, which consists of 10 items. Okay, the research procedures. The first step in carrying out this research is to identify the problem. Okay. The students' vocabulary are at a concerning level for their age, my students in Batu Rakit, which leads to this research. And the next one is identifying the informal medium they engage with most frequently, and it has been narrowed into 4 mediums, which has been stated earlier. And next is to decide the design of the research, in which I have decided to carry out in survey form, and the construction of the title of the research, and then the preparation of the proposal, such as the objectives, purpose, and research questions of the study. And next is to prepare the survey items, plus identifying the population and my samples. The next comes implementation and the collection of surveys, plus the analyzing of data. And then the observation, which is to cross-check the findings from the survey. And last one is making amendments and alterations to the teaching methods and content of lesson based on my findings. The next one is the data collection procedures. The first one is to write a consent letter to the school to obtain permission from the school's administration to conduct the survey. And then comes the distributing to the survey to the samples, and then the collection of the completed surveys, and the last one is data analysis. Next comes the data analysis procedures. Once the data is obtained, they are transferred into SPSS, which is Statistical Package for Social Sciences. And the items are built of Likert type scale. And there are 2 types of statistics in this research, which is the first one is descriptive statistics, which involves percentage and frequency. The second one is inferential statistics, which involved t-test and person correlation. And the next comes the reporting of the findings. Okay. This is the conceptual framework for this research. There are two variables in this research, which is the independent variables and the dependent variable. The student perception being the dependent variable, and it depends on the informal mediums that they engage with. And in this research, there are 4 informal mediums, which are songs, storybooks, movies, and video games. These two variables will affect each other in their vocabulary enhancement. Okay. The data findings for this research are: the first one, it answers the research question number 1, which is the informal medium that contribute most to English vocabulary enhancement based on students' perception happens to be English songs, in which 31 students out of 103 students responded with English songs as the informal medium they interact with and the medium that contributed to their vocabulary enhancement most. The second one, there is no significant differences in perception between male and female students towards the usage of informal medium and their vocabulary enhancement. There is no significant research. The independent sample t-test showed the value of p being 0.405, which is greater than 0.05, which is higher than the alpha value that has been set, which is 1.96, which means there is no significant correlation between those two variables. And the next findings is that there is a significant correlation between the usage of informal medium and the student's perception towards the vocabulary enhancement. The Pearson correlation test has been conducted, and the value of R turns out to be 1. It shows that there is a correlation between the two variables of this study, and the correlation is deemed to be perfect. Okay. Next is the discussions. The informal mediums that contribute most to English vocabulary based on students' perception happens to be English songs. And there is no significant difference in the perception of male and female students towards the effect of the usage of informal medium towards their vocabulary enhancement, which means gender is not a factor towards this matter. It is supported by Abu Rabia in his study, which it has been revealed that both male and female participants showed stronger and extrinsic motivation to learn English as a second language, which means that gender is not an important matter in this research and in this finding. Next, there is a correlation. There is a significant correlation between the students' engagement with informal medium and their perception on their vocabulary enhancement. Involving themselves with English informal medium lessens the anxiety, mainly, which Stephen Krashen said to have effects on the other two variables. High level of motivation, self-esteem, and low level of anxiety will combine to lessen the affective filter, thus preventing the mental block that prevents comprehensible input from being used for acquisition. Next comes the conclusion of the research, and it can be concluded that the students' most preferred informal medium to engage with is English songs, in which 31 students has responded with English songs as the medium that helped most with their vocabulary enhancement, and that there is a significant correlation between the usage of informal medium and students' perception. And the last one is there is no significant difference in perception towards the usage of informal medium between male and female students. There are 2 recommendations or suggestions that I can offer from this research, which is suggestion number 1. Teacher needs to discover the needs of the students by diagnosing their needs and preferences in learning. This is an important step in planning a lesson. Curriculum implementers, aka the teachers, should plan their lesson and provide learning experiences to fit and match the students' way of learning of second language by instilling motivation externally. Lecturemanan and Hun, 2012, says that different strategies and methods are required to create interest among English second language learners to acquire and extend their vocabulary successfully. Suggestion number 2 is that the researcher suggests that suitable English songs are to be integrated in lessons to gauge students' interest. As Asghari has found that there will be a better achievement if teachers use authentic materials in their teaching, and the authentic materials being English songs. Atta Allah, 2012, has suggested that songs may act as a good source of authentic materials that enhance students' memory, hence at the same time enhance their vocabulary mastery. And the last one is the implications of this research towards many, such as teachers and school administrators, parents, and Ministry of Education. The implication towards teachers and school administrators is that it will help the teacher discover the students' needs and learning styles to suit their planning of their lesson in order to ensure effective language acquisition or development. And also, the school administrations can plan curriculum and goals based on the findings of this research. Next is for the parents. It helps parents to discover their children's learning styles and preferences, and for them to be able to provide their children with suitable resources in order to facilitate their language development. And the last one is the implication for the Ministry of Education. And as the curriculum designers, makers, this can help Ministry of Education to design better curriculum in order to aid the curriculum implemented. And that is all for the findings of my research. And thank you and have a good evening.